So this began in February. I got my Alexa 4 or 3 years ago, I think, and it has worked perfectly all until 2 months ago. I live alone in a quiet neighborhood. I am friendly with most of my neighbors, though they are mostly elderly people, so I don't really talk to them at all. I am saying this because I suspect that someone is going into my house at night or doing something that triggers the Alexa to speak. I'll just tell the story of when it first happened and what it says. It first happened at around 4 to 5 a.m. I woke up to the Alexa at full volume, saying something that I couldn't make out because it was muffled. My heart was racing and I was genuinely so confused. So I stood up and went to my door in my bedroom. My Alexa is downstairs in my kitchen and my bedroom was upstairs, so I had to open the door in my bedroom to hear what the Alexa was saying. Once I opened the door, I could make out something along the lines of, "I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that." And then, after a few seconds of silence, it said that it didn't know that one. I don't know what that means, but my guess is that it is a reply to a question about a joke or a song name, since that's what an Alexa usually says when asked a question like that. Over the next few minutes, I stood at the doorway, my heart still beating, and the Alexa would be quiet for about 30 seconds before saying, "I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that." It would stay silent again for a few more seconds, and then it would say it again. I didn't want to go down, to be honest, because I was so scared. After a few minutes, it went silent, and I went back to bed, but I couldn't go to sleep. So I went downstairs at around 7 a.m., and nothing had happened. The Alexa was turned off. Now, at this point, I was horrified, but what made it worse was that when I went to bed that same night, it repeated the same things, and it has been doing that for the last 2 months. Yes, on the 3rd day in a row, I went downstairs to check, but nobody was there and nothing was off. The Alexa was still speaking, but after about 2 minutes, it stopped by itself. I plugged it out after, and then, thank God, it stopped. I kept the Alexa in my utility room and decided not to take it out of there ever again. And I probably wouldn't have posted anything about this if it wasn't for what happened a week ago. I had forgotten about the Alexa by this point and had just gone on with my life. But one night, as I went to sleep, I heard it again. Now I want to clarify that I am not trying to make a creepy story here at all. I am genuinely scared and confused on what is happening here. I went down after hearing it, saying the same phrase on loop like it had before, and it was plugged in again into the kitchen, playing the phrases like somebody was talking to it. I thought it had maybe just malfunctioned up until this point, but then I knew something was wrong, obviously. I took out the Alexa and drove up to my parents' house. I gave it to them and told them they could do whatever they wanted with it, but it was glitched. Nothing has happened since then, but I am seriously scared and worried for what is happening. I have so many questions. This story takes place not even 24 hours ago, when my girlfriend and I decided to take a short walk in her town's forest preserve, as we finally started getting warmer weather. The trail starts off on a barren, hilly field that oversees only a handful of houses a few yards away. When we started walking, the sun was beginning to set. The sky was painted in pastel pinks and blues that was slowly fading into a dark, deep blue. Beautiful to see walking in the plains. But as soon as we walked into the forest, the comfort and safety of the childlike colors were covered by a canopy of trees that barely started growing leaves. The trail immediately went from an open field into the forest. The trees were sharp, standing straight up. No imperfections in the trunks, no overgrown roots reaching to grab up from the ground, no branches threatening to smack us in the face. As we continued on the trail, just walking and talking, as girls do best, all of a sudden, Both of our eyes darted to the ground as my girlfriend stopped in her tracks, letting out a small noise of disgust and confusion. As we examined the mysterious lump on the ground, we realized how eerie it truly was. Lying in front of our feet was a dead squirrel, which wouldn't seem as abnormal, but the squirrel didn't look just dead. It looked like the life was sucked out of it. The squirrel was in a shriveled up position, sharp, fang-like teeth still in its mouth, as well as its sunken-in eyes. The squirrel was entirely black, every inch of it. Not a hint of variation or discoloration. No lighter tones tucked into the folds of its limbs. Its body showed no signs of decay, just a uniform, unnatural blackness. The body had no bugs flying around, despite me constantly getting bit by them throughout the walk. It had no odor, no smell of death lingered near it. We couldn't understand how an animal could lose its life so entirely without another creature coming to claim it as food. In the middle of the woods, in spring, it felt unnatural. No predator stepping in to carry on the cycle of life. My girlfriend said from the top of her head to the bottom of her toes, she felt a hot vibration flow through every nerve ending in her body. At the same time, I felt a deep pressure that caused every joint in my body to tense up, as well as my chest getting so tight. I started to believe someone punched me the day before. Without hesitation, we decided to turn around, as we are very into trusting our intuition. As we made our journey back to the car, barely a mile out into the trail, my girlfriend turns to me and asks me if I heard that. I shut my trap and listen, only hearing the leftover echoes of what she heard. She said she could barely make it out, but sounded like a woman screaming, "Help me." We waited a beat before continuing our walk, trying to beat the now quickly setting sun. We walked in silence, focused on getting the fuck out, both of our bad feeling increasing with every step we take. I began to hear the screams myself, but they were sounding further and further away, which I found odd because from where my girlfriend initially heard the screams to where we were now, the individual screaming would have had to quickly jump in a car and drive another mile or so away from us. That's how quickly these screams got further and further away. As I thought about it, I had a realization that made my stomach drop. I told my girlfriend that we just needed to get out, and we needed to get out now as the screams continued and got further. We exited the forest just as the green flash of the sun appeared, and the screams just came to stop. I explained to my girlfriend about a Filipino urban legend I grew up with about a certain aswang, manananggal or tik-tik, a demon creature that in the daylight will disguise itself as a human, dog, cat, or any normal creature you see in your day-to-day. But when it becomes dusk, it turns into a soul-sucking vampire. And what's it's most infamous for is the further it sounds, the closer it is. This isn't just a story. It's a memory I've carried since I was 8 years old, one that's never quite fit together the way memories should. The edges are too sharp in some places, too blurred in others, like someone else was holding the camera the whole time. I'm sharing it now because I'm starting to understand that it was never random. None of it. When I was 8, I would sometimes wake up in a different part of the house than where I'd fallen asleep. My bed would be empty, sheets already cold, and I'd find myself on the couch or curled on the hallway floor like a discarded doll, or once even sitting upright at the kitchen table with my head resting on my arms as if I'd been waiting for someone. My shirt would be on backwards or inside out, or missing entirely. My mom would laugh it off and call it sleepwalking. "You've always done that, sweetheart. Nothing to worry about." I was too young to question why it only started after we moved into the old apartment, or why I never remembered the walk, or why some mornings I tasted metal in my mouth and found dirt under my fingernails. Then, my mum finally scraped together enough money for a fresh start. A real house, 2 stories, with a yard that backed right up against the woods. For the first few weeks, everything felt clean and safe. The strange nights stopped, until they didn't. One night, I woke to a sound at my bedroom window on the 2nd floor. A slow, deliberate knocking, 3 measured taps, then silence, then 3 more. Not like a branch scraping in the wind, not like an animal. Too patient, too familiar. And underneath the knocks, threading through them like something wet being dragged across dry leaves, came a voice, rasping, low, almost gurgling. It said my name, not whispered, spoken clearly, the way an adult speaks to a child they know well, the way someone who has watched you for years speaks when they finally decide it's time. I pulled the blanket over my head and lay there listening, while my heart tried to hammer its way out of my chest. I heard footsteps, soft, careful, like someone testing each step so the shingles wouldn't creak too loudly. The sound came from outside, then inside the walls, then inside my head. The difference stopped mattering after a while. The next thing I remember is waking up in the forest. It was deep night, the kind where the trees swallow moonlight and every shadow feels personal, like it's been waiting for you specifically. I was barefoot. The ground was cold and damp under my feet, and the pajamas I wore weren't mine. They were too big, sleeves hanging past my hands, pants bunched around my ankles. They smelled like old sweat, sour breath, and something metallic, almost like blood left to dry for days. In the left pocket, I found a small stack of photographs. They were pictures of me. Some showed me as a toddler, playing in a yard I didn't recognize. Others were recent, me riding my bike in front of our new house. Me asleep in my bed through the window, taken from inside my room. Me sitting at the kitchen table, eating cereal with my back to the camera. The last few were wrong. They showed me at ages I hadn't reached yet. Me at 10, me at 13. One of me as an adult, standing in a doorway I didn't recognize, looking back over my shoulder with wide, terrified eyes. All of them were in full, vivid color. My mom had never owned a color printer. She still doesn't. I started walking because staying still felt worse. The trees all looked the same. No matter which direction I chose, the path seemed to curve back on itself, as if the woods were slowly tightening around me like a throat. After what felt like hours, I saw a figure standing by a little creek that cut through the woods. Miss Herrett, my old neighbor from the apartment complex, the one who used to give me hard candies and let me watch cartoons at her place when Mum worked late. She smiled the same gentle smile I remembered and waved me over with fingers that seemed a little too long. "Come on, sweetheart. You'll be safe if you cross the water. Just come to me." Her voice felt wrong. It looked like her, down to the little mole on her cheek, but the voice was off, like it was being pushed through a throat that wasn't shaped for human speech. And the smell, God, the smell. Overripe fruit left to rot in the sun, mixed with something deeper, like meat gone bad. I told her I couldn't swim. She kept smiling, but her eyes didn't move, not even to blink. "It's not deep, just a few steps. Come on, I have a gift for you." I took one hesitant step toward the creek, and then the night exploded. Footsteps crashed through the underbrush all around me, sometimes quiet and close, sometimes loud and far away, as if many things were moving in perfect coordination. Voices overlapped in a sick chorus, some whispering my name, some screaming it, some laughing in a wet, choking way. I stepped back. "Don't walk away, Joshua," she said, still smiling with Miss Herritt's face. "I'm here for you. I'm always here." Her voice changed at the last part. It dropped, became deeper, rougher. It sounded exactly like my father. I've only ever seen videos of him. I never met him. He died before I was born. It could not be my dad. But now I heard his voice coming from behind Miss Herritt's smiling face, warm and coaxing, telling me to cross the creek so he could finally hug me. He said he had missed me so much, that he'd been waiting a long time, that he had so many things to show me. He spoke of futures that would never happen and pasts that had already been rewritten. Suddenly, I heard frantic running through the tall brush. Then my mother's warm arms wrapped around me. She cried, I cried. She carried me home, and for a moment I felt safe again. But every time I tried to tell her about it, she never believed me, so I stopped.